So today I am so excited to be here with you, and we are going to be chatting all about how to build confidence when working with hotels. I literally have notes right in front of me. I have been thinking about what I wish I would have known and what I could really summarize over the past few years of working with hotels exclusively. So let's just dive in, shall we? So number one, and this may seem like a no-brainer, but number one is you have to know who to talk to. There's nothing more intimidating than walking into a hotel and just knowing that you want to work with them, but you literally have no idea where to begin. And it's very unclear in the hospitality industry, like what hierarchy is, how the chain of command goes. And so of course, naturally, it feels very overwhelming. And when we're overwhelmed, we typically don't act. And so first and foremost, the most important thing on how to build confidence when working with hotels is knowing who to talk to. And it's actually my very first point in my masterclass. It's like a lot of times we're either talking to the wrong person or we're talking to too many people, we're getting lost in translation. And so it's really understanding these three tiers, which is mid-management, management, and decision maker. Now, the likelihood of getting to the decision maker, which is ultimately the general manager or the owner of the hotel, depending on how big this hotel is. If it's a white label, meaning that, let's say, someone owns the building and they've decided to open their own hotel and they've white labeled it Hotel Chess, for example, that doesn't exist, then they're probably going to be a lot more involved with choosing vendors than, let's say, a JW Houston, for example, who the general manager would make that decision. So the likelihood of getting to the decision maker, first and foremost, is not like extremely likely, but it's also not impossible. So I always say, there's that famous saying out there, shoot for the moon, worst case, you'll land among the stars. So I typically always ask for the general manager. Whether or not you get them, we'll see what happens. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. So when we're talking about management, someone that sits underneath the decision maker, basically this is like the feeder system. We're talking about a directorship. So you can have the director of ops or the director of sales and marketing. And even in some of the hotels, I've seen that the director of food and beverage, especially right now while hotels are ramping back up, are becoming in charge of sourcing floral vendors. It is probably the same difficulty to get to a manager as it is a decision maker. So I'm always like, just shoot for the decision maker. But if you just can't get anywhere with that, then start trying to get to the directorship. And if you're having a difficult time with directorship, then you can always start with mid-management. So that person is going to be like front office manager, food and beverage manager, sales manager, etc. So how to build confidence, number one, and this is what I harp on. I explain so much more in my masterclass. It's free. You can check it out, link in my bio. You can also go to thehotelflorist.com and it's right there, but know who to talk to. And once you know who to talk to, you already have a lot more confidence when you're coming into the hotel and approaching selling your services. So number two, and I don't talk about this, I haven't really talked about this too much, is, at least not here, I talk about it a lot in the course, but determine where you can add value. And so that is only possible if you're actually visiting the hotel. And I always say you can go to the hotel the moment you're in the hotel. You are a guest, you're not a vendor. So you can come at it from a guest perspective, like what's missing? What are the type of clientele that are already visiting this property? Where are the empty spaces? Maybe they already have floral designs, but they're lacking substance or they're lacking impact. Where is it that you can actually add value? And you can only do that by visiting the property. The thing that I want everyone to remember as you're listening to this is that you are a leader in your business. We are not just florists, we are entrepreneurs, we are business owners, majority of us. And as a leader, we are providing solutions. That is technically what people are paying us to do. Yes, we have beautiful designs. Yes, we know how to source flowers. Yes, we know how to get the best pricing. Yes, we know how to manage teams. But at the end of the day, there's this, I don't know what book it's from, but basically we are taking the monkeys off people's backs. We are providing solutions. And so number two, to build that confidence when working with hotels, visit the property, figure out how you can add value and where the solutions which you can provide is going to help that property become even more profitable, well-known, more tied into their community. Whatever the positives are that you see, the positive opportunities, that is what you need to determine, and that again will build your confidence. Which leads me into point number 3 on how to build confidence when working with hotels. And that is, take a moment, even if it's after you listen to this or when you have a quiet moment sometime this week, but try to do it within this week. Figure out, decide what is unique about you. Oftentimes we approach corporate clients the same way that perhaps we would approach our wedding and event clients, but the hospitality industry is all about taking care of people. And if you closed your eyes right now and you thought of like your favorite brand, for example, majority of Four Seasons guests only stay at Four Seasons. There is something unique about Four Seasons that Four Seasons guests really identify with, and that creates a very long-lasting connection. We have to do the same about us as hotel florists and our business. So decide what is unique about you, and then once you decide that, and I'll give you a couple of examples because I know it's kind of like woo-woo and kind of, figure out what do you want to do in 5 years, that question that we all can't stand. Once you figure out what is unique about you, then decide why it matters. So here's an example. When I started the Hotel Florist, and I really sat back and I decided to take the plunge a few years ago and really niche down into hotels because my background is in hotels, my education, I have a Bachelor of Science in Hotel and Restaurant Management. I've worked around the world with hotels on a property and corporate level, but I really love flowers. And I'm like, how do I put these two together where I can create my own unique story? And somebody asked me, like, when did you have your aha moment? Or what is the first memory that you have of designing in a way that made you really, truly happy? And I know this is gonna sound, maybe it won't, but at the time I thought it sounded really silly, is I remember when I was 6 years old and I would go into the fields around my native Texas home and I would pick wildflowers. And every single room had a different arrangement. It was to scale of, if it was a kitchen table, it was going to be bigger than the arrangement that I put in the bathroom next to the sink, which maybe was just like a single iris or whatever it might be. But ever since I can remember, I was always designing specifically to add something to the space to make it feel more feminine, more luxurious. And let me tell you, I did not grow up in a very luxurious environment. I had a single mother. It was not a great home. I ended up in foster care, and it was not an ideal situation. We didn't have running water. But there was something about flowers that just helped me in that moment be creative and add that luxurious touch and make the room feel better and more beautiful than it could have been, even at such a young age. And now when I think about what I get hired to do, it is exactly that. It is exactly, Francesca, we have this blank wall here. What can we do with it? Or Francesca, we really want, when guests come in, like a sense of arrival. Like what do we do with this empty space in the lobby? And I just got goosebumps. And I remember spring was always my favorite time of year because that was my favorite time to create. That's when all the flowers were blooming. And ironically, I'm actually, as I'm recording this, I'm back in basically my hometown and having this kind of wave of memories and nostalgia. And that's why I wanted to bring it up, because that was what was unique about my story when I started the Hotel Florist. Why did I want to be a Hotel Florist? How do I tie it all in? And when I started approaching hotels, I had never worked with hotels in that capacity as a hotel florist. But what I decided was what was unique about me and why it mattered was that I had at this point, several years ago when I started this, expat experience. So I had lived overseas twice. At the time, I was already living in the Middle East for, I think by that point, 6 years. And when I sat down with one property and I sat down with the owner, and he was originally from India, we really connected on a recent trip that I had done in India, and we connected on how I had this international experience, and most of his guests were international. And so I said, look, you're not gonna get cookie cutter, old school floral arrangements that you can see in any hotel. Like, I'm gonna put stuff in your hotel that I've seen in London or that I've personally seen in Singapore, and that's what really connected us. And so your story may be completely different, but what I'm trying to say is everyone's story is very unique, and this is literally your secret sauce, because nobody can have your story or what you identify with, and you get to choose what that is and how you want to sell it. And so that's why after you're listening to this, within the next 7 days, I want you just to take a moment, take out a sheet of paper and just brain dump. Brain dump anything that is relevant to why you're a designer, why you're a florist, why you want to work with hotels. I currently have a student in the Hotel Florist Profit Method that actually just spent over a decade working as a revenue manager in a hotel. And now she's gone into floristry and she wants to tie her two experiences together. Technically, she could sit back and just say like, well, I'm an accountant, what do I know? Or I just know how to crunch numbers, or I'm just a new florist, what do I know? But she has created a really unique story, a brand story on why she is a hotel florist. And so to build that confidence when working with hotels, I think it's so important to like just feel really good about who you are and how you're different. And we only decide that when we take time to figure out what that is, because can be kind of daunting. So third point, decide what is unique about you and then why it matters, which probably will tie into point number 2 because it's going to add some value. All right, so point number 4 is get clear on your signature style. Now you might be like, well, Francesca, I don't really know how to design for hotels. I've never done this before. I make a killer bouquet, or I'm really known for this. Just start skimming, whether it's Pinterest or Instagram. Save photos that just inspire you, move you, that you appreciate. Not the photos where you have like FOMO or feel insignificant, but the photos you're like, wow, they did that? Like I could do that, or I could do that better. And create this signature style. So for me personally, Jeff Latham has always been somebody that I have looked up to. I think he is just an incredible, talented florist. I think that he's had an amazing career with Four Seasons. And so I took a lot of inspiration from him. And I quickly determined that things that made me feel relaxed, and you might be like, here's another tip on how to create a signature style. When you look at something that you've done and you feel relaxed about it, that means you actually 100% feel in line with what you have authentically created. Versus, and I don't know if you've ever had this feeling, but I remember that there were times that I created things that were quote unquote really beautiful, or quote unquote what everybody was like raving about, and I deep down inside like hated it. I didn't understand it. It just like, for me personally, to calm anxiety, I need linear lines. I need simplicity. I need to just have something look symmetrical. I always tell the team, like, if you could fold the design in half, it needs to mirror each other. Like, that's what makes me feel good. And so I quickly thought to myself, okay, my signature style is monochromatic. I love to design either with line, mass, or a mixture of both. And I'm never going to use more than 1 to 3 different types of flowers. Now, I'm talking about installs for a hotel, or I'm not talking about, let's say, a mixed floral arrangement for Mother's Day. Of course, that's something completely different. But for my signature style, when it comes to hotels, those are my 3 pillars. And that gave me so much confidence when working with hotels, because the moment that a hotel would want to go off on some other tangent, I'd be like, well, I might not be the right florist for you, because I actually don't like arranging with silk flowers, or I don't like, really bright, bold, contrasting colors, or whatever it might be. But when you have your signature style and you are consistent with it, this is what you actually become known for. And there's been a few times that I've been a little bit like, oh, well, I really want to work with this client, and I don't really care that it's all like succulents. It's fine. It just pays the bills at the end of the day. But that's not going to get me noticed or where it is that I actually want to be in my market as a market leader. So the few times that I have pushed back, I have always explained why I have the style that I have, and why it is company policy, and why it has been part of my success up until now. And by the way, nobody's going to challenge you on that if you feel confident about that. And 99% of the time, they're going to go with whatever you say, because you are the expert. And that leads me back to, you're the leader in your business. You're the expert in your field. You're the solutions provider. Always remember that. versus giving your power away to them and letting them decide for you. And then later on, you're just irritated and frustrated and you like have fallen out of love with it, and that never feels good. I mean, how many of us have worked with a bride and we've like presented her a proposal and we're like, oh my gosh, I just see white panties everywhere and like soft dove linens and it'll be really simple and really beautiful. And she's like, oh no, but I want this, whatever she found on Pinterest that everybody else has. And you're just kind of like a little part of your soul dies because you don't actually get to be the creative that you are. And you're just like, well, okay, like it'll still be nice. And you work with her anyway. We can't do that with hotels, because if we want to be set apart and if we want to build that confidence and we want to be the expert and we want to be the solutions provider, we have to know what it is of our signature style. And by the way, when you're done listening to this, you're probably not going to get off being very clear on what that is. And don't be frustrated or discouraged. This is just something that now you need to keep at the forefront, that as you're creating, ask yourself, like, does this feel good? Do I like this? Do I like when all the gladiolas are spread out or when they're all clumped together? Do I like the gladiolas when they have the whimsical kind of last blooms on the edge, or do I like to pinch those off and have a straight edge? You start asking yourself more questions. You become more strategic, and probably within the next month, you'll get really clear on what feels good, what looks good to you, what makes you feel relaxed, meaning your eye has a focal point when they look at something and it's not just trying to like figure out what the heck is going on. Then you're a lot closer to figuring out your signature style. And that is going to help you build confidence when working with hotels. Okay, so which leads me to my final and last point, which is, oh, actually, before I do that, I have a little side note here on my notes in front of me. Going back to not wavering on your signature style and not losing this and holding firm on this. I just want to solidify this because there's been a few times the past couple of years that this has happened to me, and I'm like, wow, I'm really happy that I set up future Francesca for success and I did not compromise on this. It is that this signature style determines your actual brand. And it is almost as if it introduces you to a room full of strangers without you even having to be there. It is literally like a passive business card. So I have gotten so many referrals from hotel installs where literally they're like, I want what you do there. Can you come do it over here? And after a while they see stuff and now I'll start getting messages or photos like, hey, I saw your work here. I saw your work here. Or is this your work? Because the moment I saw it, I knew it was yours. That's why creating a signature style is so important, because it introduces you without you even having to be there, which also continues to reinforce that you are the expert, you are a hotel florist, you're an amazing, incredible solutions provider, complementing whatever the brand standards are, but also making sure that you have your own brand standards, which is your signature style. Okay, point number 5. You always want to refer to yourself as an extension of their team versus coming at the hotel as just another vendor. And if you want to kind of get a deep dive on that and see that from a general manager's perspective, if you haven't heard it yet, I do have an episode with one of my clients. His name is Yella. He is a general manager, and he talked all about how floral vendors are actually completely different to any other vendor that he hires for the hotel. But when I was building my confidence and working with hotels in a floral capacity, I realized that I felt a lot more at ease and I felt a lot more confident. And I also felt that I could add so much more value when I was coming from a place of, I am going to be an extension of your team. Like, I've got your back. I want to set you up for success. You tell me what you need. Don't micromanage me. Just drop it in my lap. Give me your monkey. I will literally take that monkey off your back and I will take care of it and I will feed it and play with it and make sure that all the monkeys are very, very happy. But as a team member, they all of a sudden know, like, and trust you more so than if you sell to them as a vendor. And also, how many times have we felt super confident just selling? Probably not as much as the times that we felt really confident knowing that we could help somebody. Like, how many of us have would rather volunteer than actually sell? So this can really help you build confidence when working with hotels, when you are actually referring to yourself as an extension of their team. How can we help you? How can we come from a place of value and not just selling just like another vendor. And like I said, if you want to just kind of hear that from a general manager's point of view, from the other side of the pond, go and check out the episode with Yella. He's one of the first ones in season 1. I hope that you found this helpful. I tried to keep this within 20 minutes. I did 22, so I'm doing pretty good. And yeah, let me know what you think. I am just gonna scroll through the comments. Thank you everyone who is here. I'm so excited to be chatting with you. Okay. So Kelly asked, I could apply this to Airbnb and bed and breakfast because in my area there's a mix because it's high end, but hotels are not the majority. Okay, Kelly, so I have never personally worked with Airbnb bed and breakfast, but I don't think you have anything to lose. I first would start with the bed and breakfast because they are local and they are probably wanting to, 1, support their community, and 2, have more of a connection to their community. And so I would approach them and see how you could possibly add more value, even if it's like, maybe, I'm not sure where you're based, but maybe you could support a local flower farm and put a local arrangement at the front desk that the bed and breakfast could talk about and show that their guests, that they're supporting local. Maybe it's small bud vases in their suites. Maybe they have just a small number of suites. Maybe it's something in in-room dining, room service, or the restaurant. Start with the bed and breakfast, and if you feel like you get really good traction, then figure out how you could apply this to Airbnb. A lot of Airbnbs are owned by, like, let's say that one owner might own several Airbnbs, but it can't hurt to just reach out to them on Airbnb. And especially if you're already doing something with a bed and breakfast, you can just speak to that and explain to them like how much value that has added to their guests. Maybe they've even been able to increase their room night rate, or maybe they've increased their guest satisfaction scores. So then you kind of have some stats to refer to. All right. There's nothing silly about our story. Yeah, totally. But, sometimes we have imposter syndrome. And I remember when I wrote like, oh, I was walking my native Texas fields at the age of 6, making arrangements for my house. I was like, wow, that sounds so extra. But it was true. It was true. And now I'm like having a full circle moment being back here and remembering this time of year. I did exactly that. And now I'm still doing it on a professional level, and I'm teaching other people how to do it because I'm so passionate about it. And I just, the one thing that we all became florists because we had a love of flowers and we had a love of creativity. And some of us are really business savvy and some of us aren't so business savvy. And so I want everyone to still be in love with their business. I want everyone to still love what it is that they do, that they take pride in being able to work with a medium every single day and be as creative as they feel called to be and make money to support their family. I think that, once we figure that out, it just feels like such a surreal moment. So like just being here with you today and chatting with you about, figure out what's unique about you. It's like, it gave me goosebumps because I was like, I'm doing it. When at the age of 6, I was just worried about if I should put 2 purple irises in the same bud vase or 1. Okay. Oh, Kelly, I loving all the comments. Thank you so much. Yes, internal work is big. 2020 definitely showed me that the way I coped with a lot of things was not going to be sustainable. So definitely recommend internal work. Okay, Kelly, I'm about to open a flower shop and I want to approach the hospitality businesses around. Absolutely. I'm not sure where you're based, but I know where we are. Hospitality is booming. It is hard to get reservations in restaurants. The line is out the door at the hotel. I know that every part of the world is completely different, but bottom line is hospitality, the tourism business, like they want to open, people want to travel. It is only literally the essence of time now before it's just going to be full domino effect. It's just snowball. So if you can get in now and build those relationships now and really start it and feel good about what it is you're doing and how you're helping everyone get back on their feet, then as that business just continues to grow, you're naturally going to be the go-to that they go to. Wow, that's so scientific. Okay. Awesome. Y'all are loving this. Very helpful as always. Oh, thanks, Catherine. Catherine is actually a student in the Hotel Florist Profit Method. She won an incredible account. I'm not sure if I can say, so if she wants to say, she can type it in. But she's actually coming on the podcast. I did a student spotlight with her that was awesome. Okay. Aw, Kelly, I'm just like loving all the chats. Thank you. All right, Albert. Hi, Albert. Yes, I just saw you joined. Congratulations. I'm so excited to work with you. I joined the membership of your class monthly payment. Is the class content have an expiration date? I'm busy these days and haven't started the class and catch up on the class. Okay, Albert. So when you purchase the course monthly, you have 12 months to do whatever you want with the course. I try to make the course as efficient as possible because I know everyone is busy as a florist. So most of the lessons are like 20 minutes or less. I try to put all the sheets in there that you literally can download. So like a list of 30 plus questions that you can literally print off and take with you. So no burning brain calories or time there. 50 plus different types of flowers to design with and how to design with them. Just print that out, contract, template, fill it in, print it out. So it should be super. We have a 30-day and a 90-day schedule on how to get through the course that you can look at, and you can choose which one works for you. And then you have the monthly group coaching calls. So you'll be fine. You've got 12 months, and I'm really happy to have you part of the course. Okay. If anyone has any other questions, I'll hang out with you for a second and I'm happy to answer them. Thank you so much for being here. Let me know if you found that this was helpful on the, how to build confidence while working with hotels. We all know that confidence is a big part of selling. And, I could just be like, you need to be more confident, but that's not helpful to anybody. So I really thought about, okay, what were 5 things that helped me really build up my confidence? And these were the 5. So let me know. You're so welcome, Albert. And for everyone joining, there is going to be a replay. Awesome. Yep, Kelly. It's just thehotelflorist.com. Everything's there. There's a free masterclass. You can check out the free masterclass, link in bio if you haven't already. And the podcast, there's a link to the podcast on there as well. So for everyone joining, there is going to be a replay. So I try to keep this short and sweet. Not everyone has a lot of time. Totally get that. I did 22 minutes. Well, now we're at 29. But just as a summary, we talked about how to build confidence while working with hotels. And I covered 5 big topics. Hi from Toronto. Hello. That's where Four Seasons and Fairmont Hotels and Resorts is based. So good place to be. And just in summary, the 5 topics were to know who to talk to. And I covered the difference between a decision maker, management and mid-management, where you can add value that consists of visiting and remembering that you are a leader in your business. And so ultimately you are a solutions provider, not to forget that. That is extremely valuable, especially in this day and age where people are very tight on time and money as they're rebuilding and they're coming back stronger than ever. Number 3 was deciding what is unique to you and why it matters. So really getting clear on your brand story as a hotel florist. And for me, I shared 2 different versions, my childhood version and my expat version that I pitched to hotels when I first started working with them, because I knew I had an international edge that my local competitors didn't. And number 4 was getting clear on your signature style and not wavering from it, because ultimately this will become essentially your passive business card. People will see your work and just instantly know it's yours, and they'll probably want it in their own property or their own lobbies. I've seen it time and time again now, and I'm just so happy that I did that. So we talked about that. And then lastly, we talked about how to consider yourself as a extension of the hotel's team and not necessarily just another vendor, because sometimes when we approach clients to just sell, we naturally already feel a little bit intimidated, or imposter syndrome comes in a little bit stronger, which makes us less confident. But if we're approaching it from, I'm just another member on your team and I want you to be successful because your success is my success, then all of a sudden we feel like we're coming from a place of service and we become a lot more confident.